Hello everyone and welcome to my presentation on the Chinese character the. So the Chinese character the is probably the most frequent character you will ever encounter in Chinese. Not probably, I'm sure about it. And it has three different pronunciations, the most frequent one being the one that I just used, which is the in the neutral tone. Let me write that a little bit more neatly. Still not good enough, my handwriting is terrible. And in this case, its meaning is roughly the same as the English apostrophe S in expressions like Peter's book, for instance. And there are two different pronunciations of this character. One is D, which means target, like a target on the wall, for instance, or something like that. And then we have a D in the second tone in words like di che, which means precise. So this particular character belongs to the largest group of Chinese characters, according to their type, which are phonosemantic compounds. And it's a very fancy word. It just means that one part of the character is going to be responsible for its meaning, and one part of the character, another one, is going to be responsible for its pronunciation. So that when a person looks at this character, then by looking at one of those two parts, he's going to know what the character means, and looking at its other part, he's going to know how to pronounce it, how to read it. So in this particular case, and this is going to be slightly more complicated to understand because it doesn't really fit for these three pronunciations. Actually, it doesn't fit at all for either of these. So it's not that inside of this character there's nothing that would tell you that it should be read the, D, or D. But before, when this character was created, and that was a very long time ago, this held true. One part of this character, and it's this one, was responsible for its meaning, and it happens to be by. The whole character 2,000 years ago, or whenever it was created, used to mean white as in white color. And this left part of the character, this whole thing over here, is a standalone character in Mandarin today as well. It can be written like this, and it means white. Same thing, the white color. So this left part of the character is responsible for the meaning, and this right part of the character, this whole part to the right, its pronunciation today, it's also a standalone character, which you write like this. And its pronunciation is shao, and its meaning is a spoon, which has nothing to do with white. But back when this character was created, this pronunciation was xiak, if I remember correctly, and was very close to the pronunciation of the word white, that, if I remember correctly, at that time was pronounced tiek. And so what they did was they just chose to put this character inside, next to the character meaning white, so that when a person at that time looked at this character, he would know that what it is, because he would know that this represents the meaning white, and this is very close to the pronunciation of the word white at that time. So together it meant white. It represented the word white at that time. So how to write this character? So there are a lot of rules. There are several rules that apply to writing Chinese characters, and of course it is a very good idea to observe them, because they would it's going to be much more difficult for you to get a result as nice as this one, and it is just a system that needs to be memorized, that's all. But these rules are finite, and there's not so many of them, and they're not so hard and difficult, and especially in this case. So first I'm going to show you how to write this character. So you start here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you continue 6, 7, and 8. So let me do that one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I realized I didn't mention one very important thing, and I'm recording this after I finished doing the whole recording, so the sound is going to be a little bit different. You saw me draw this little dot, the last stroke that I did in the character, starting at bottom right and finishing at top left. But this is actually wrong. I'm doing it only because I want to achieve this dot effect on my tablet, and I will do this throughout the video in a wrong way. I will start at the bottom right and finish at the top left. What you should do is start at the top left and finish at the bottom right, doing a small dot. The stroke is called dian, and I will mention this later in the video as well. Again, I'm only doing this because on my tablet that I'm writing on, if I do it in the reverse order, it's going to have this little nice dot, sort of like a raindrop effect. So one thing you might notice is that as I said, the character is divided into two parts, the left and right. So one of the rules says that you have to start first with the left part and then continue with the right part. And by first completing the left part and then moving on to the right part. And this is regardless of whether it is when it comes to the character as a whole or when it comes to just the sub-element of the character. This is one of the basic rules. The second basic rule is that you have to go from top to bottom, and I did just that. I started at the top of the left part, and then I went from right to left, and then again top, bottom, and then you continue on to this section, and roughly the same thing. You start from the left, like the left side of this whole subsection, and then you continue with this stroke, and the dots usually go the dots, when there is a dot on this part, in this part of the character, it usually comes last. So much for the writing of the character. Let me do that one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you continue 6, 7, and 8. Some things to look out when you write this character to make it look as nice as this one looks, which I personally almost never get because my handwriting is terrible, but I know how to do it. What I used to confuse was that I used to think that this stroke over here, which is called pied and is supposed to be done like this, so you start at the top, you pull your pen down and to the left, applying pressure at the beginning and releasing it at the end. So what you get is basically this nice little effect where in the beginning you have a sort of thicker stroke, and towards the end you have this sharper edge, and that's the stroke which is called pied. And I used to confuse it with this stroke over here, a dien, which is just a dot. And so when I was writing this section, I used to write it like this, and it's just wrong because I know to a beginner student like I was at that time, it is very confusing and it looks very similar. You just remember that this is a stroke and not a dot like over here. Why I'm saying this is that in many books, the font, when you look at the font, the character is actually this stroke is going to look like a dot. So it's very confusing, at least for someone like me was. The second thing that you might want to look out for is that in this section over here where you have this horizontal stroke, this one and this one, they should not cross this vertical stroke. It's better when they don't touch at all, like is the case over here, than if they should cross. And the third thing that I would look out for is this horizontal stroke, and this one over here, which is called hung. It should be written like this. It is slightly tilted. I'm not sure if you can see it in this particular case, but it is a slightly tilted stroke, so it's going slightly upwards to achieve that little effect. And yeah, and one more thing that you need to pay attention to is that, and this is in general, I noticed that that Chinese characters tend not to be symmetrical when it comes to their left and right parts. So as you can see over here, this element over here, and let's call it an element for now, is smaller and shorter by about, I don't know, about 20% than this element over here. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I'll see you in the next video.